This is how the Revy Bike Cheetah should show up when it arrives, but it doesn't quite come like that. Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. A few weeks ago I showed you the Revy Bike's Cheetah, which is this awesome motorcycle inspired cruiser style bike. It's got the big comfy seat and the comfortable grips and the swept back bars. And even though at first I said, admittedly, this isn't like my style of bike right here. I like hitting trails and mountain biking, that sort of thing. It still was a lot of fun. I liked the quality, and so I put out the video and I asked you guys, do you want to see a bike like this from me, or this bike? We know that it takes time to develop a new bike. So I have some answers to some of those questions on whether or not we're going to stock this bike. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned till the end of the video because I'm going to show you some sneak peeks as to what this is going to come with right now, and hopefully provide some tidbits of information as to what's going to happen in the future. This is how the bike comes, or at least this is how it came to me when I first bought it. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for commenting. I really do read those comments as much as I possibly can. It's hard to get through all of them, but we try and look at those and see what's the feedback, what do you like, what do you don't like, so that way we're producing the right bikes in the future. Now, I thought with the Cheetah bike that it made no sense to not come with fenders, not come with the rack, or even the bags. Yes, we are going to stock the Cheetah for some time at Bolton e-bikes, but we're going to narrow down the options a bit. There are going to be two color options. There is the brown and black that you see here, and there is also a black and kind of gray color combo that's available. So we'll have both of those in stock. We're only going to offer the largest 17.5 amp hour battery because everybody wants the bigger battery, so why not? Rear rack, the fenders are all going to come standard with every bike, so that's not even going to be an option. I think it should just come with it. That's what all of you guys asked for, so yes, that's going to be included. Now this is, once again, this is the Revy Bike's Cheetah. We are simply carrying the bike as a brand. There'll be, of course, a couple of little tweaks like the extra accessories that we'll put on there and some special Bolton e-bikes, head badges, things like that that you wouldn't get if you bought the bike directly from Revy Bikes, but that is where the bike is coming from. Now in the future, there might be some other changes. For example, the suspension fork, well, it's not a suspension fork, it's just a rigid fork right now. That was probably one of the biggest comments, hey, yeah, I want a suspension fork on the bike. Now, right now, with the way things are going, manufacturing-wise, with e-bikes around the world, it's just completely nuts. It's hard to get parts, it's hard to get things developed. We're making it happen, but as you have seen from the Blackbird, the Sabre, and other bikes, it takes time. So to have a suspension fork made for this bike is gonna take some more time. I hope that is an option down the road, but don't expect that to be any time before the end of the year. I just want to be totally clear about that. Now this bike, however, with the accessories added on, when is that going to be available? The bikes actually came in today. I'm obviously filming this a few days before the video comes out. The Revy Bikes Cheetahs with all the accessories I mentioned will be in stock, ready for immediate shipping. So I'm really happy about that because we don't have very many bikes in stock at all. So it was very cool that we were able to work with the guys over at Revy Bikes and get our hands on some of these right away. Now, because the fenders, the rack, and the bags, and some of those extra accessories will be included, although not actually installed in the box, I want to go ahead and take the rest of the time for this video to show you how you actually put those things on. Now, first off, we have this piece right here. It's basically a guard for the light. technically, yeah, it has some function, but it's more for looks than anything. There are 2 bolts on the side of the headlight right here. When you're first pulling the bike out of the box, you have to install this headlight anyway. All you gotta do is put this in between these bolts right here on each side and get that tightened down. Easy. And here is our protective guard for the light, all done with that. Now next, let's go ahead and put on one of the fenders. Here's the rear fender. There's 2 little holes right here. You have a couple pieces of hardware. This one that has the little notch in it, that goes like this, holds this metal piece on. And then this second black piece with the threaded holes in it, that one goes underneath on the inside of the fender. And then there's 2 bolts just like this that screw it all together. So here's the hardware installed. Go ahead and tighten those all the way down. There are 4 bolts that hold the fender on. There are 2 at the back for these fender brackets here. There's 1 right here that holds onto the frame, and then there's 1 down here. Now it's a little bit tight on these 2 on the frame, so what I'm gonna do is actually let some air out of the tire. That way I can get my Allen wrench in there. Okay, we've got the 2 bolts onto the frame. It was really tight, just a heads up, so it probably would be easier to remove the rear wheel, but if you do flatten it and get a really small Allen wrench, you can get in there. I'm just forewarning you, it's a little tricky to get it on like that. We just need to put on the 2 bolts for the rear bracket here, 1 on each side, and 1 right here. Same process for the front fender. We have a bracket that mounts on here, and then the bolts for the front fork are right on the inside of the fork here. So a couple of bolts here, and then the fender stay is going to mount here and go down to that hole right down here. So to get the rack on, there's 4 bolts, 2 on each side. These are already installed on the bike, so we're going to go ahead and remove these, and then we can just reuse them when we put the rack back on. Here's the rack. Like I said, there's 4 bolts on the bottom, so those are going to line up with the 4 holes on the frame where we just removed those bolts. So all you got to do is stick those back in, and your rack's installed. Now we have the rack on, we've got the fenders on. Now for the rack, there is this handy little strap that comes with it, but of course, we're not gonna stop there, and we're gonna go ahead and put the fancy bags on. You will notice there is a tail light that's part of this kit as well. It is just a tail light with its own internal battery. It's not a brake light. Now here's the bags that match, of course, the rest of the bike. There are some straps underneath to go ahead and strap this guy on. There are some reflectors, so that's how you know which way is the front and which way is the back. Obviously the reflectors are going to go towards the back. So these are going to sit on just like this. All we need to do is strap those on, and now this bike will be ready to ride. It's all done. We've got the fenders on, the rack, the bags, and our nice little guard for the headlight. So this completes the bike, in my opinion. Now this thing is ready to roll. So this is how all of the bikes will come, with the rack, the fenders, and the bags. A little bit of assembly to put those on. The front fender ended up being a little bit more difficult. There wasn't enough room in between the tire and the bolts, so I did pull the front wheel off to put that on. So when you first unbox your bike, the wheel's not going to be on. So make sure to put on that front fender first before you put the front wheel on. That'll make the assembly go a little bit easier. But these are all of the accessories the bike is going to come with, and really the only thing left to do at this point is get on the bike, throw something in the saddlebags, and go for a nice long ride. So now that the bike is ready to ride, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, like this video. If you have any thoughts or final questions about this bike, make sure to leave us a note in the comments. I do appreciate all of you and hope to see you on another video next week.